Picture this. A really famous rapper, millions of dollars on the table, a brand new, booming industry, and what looks like a golden ticket investment.
Sounds like the dream setup.
Exactly. But today, we're unpacking how one of those high-profile cannabis investments went, well, kind of sideways. We're pulling insights from Nug Notes to see what happened.
Yeah, it really started with such high hopes. Back in 2021, you had Chainz through his company Antimatter Holdings, putting in a serious amount, $1.5 million,
Right.
into Pineapple Express Hollywood. And the pitch from the founders, Vincent Zadeh and Matthew Feinstein, seemed solid. They promised, monthly payouts,
Right.
the ability to pull out his investment plus 10% interest, basically anytime. And this big red carpet grand opening by spring 2021, prime location too, Vine and Hollywood.
On paper, it looks like a slam dunk.
Total.
But what a slam dunk didn't quite happen. The first really big red flag, the one that probably should have been blinking, was that timeline. That spring 2021 grand opening, it got pushed back by nearly a whole year. It finally opened February 10th, 2022.
Wow, okay.
And here's the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
By then, Chainz hadn't seen a single dollar in payments. Zero.
You can just imagine the frustration building there. And what's really wild is the response he apparently got. He texted Zadeh asking what's up.
Yeah.
And Zadeh apparently just texted back saying they wouldn't be honoring the agreement just like that.
No explanation. Just nope.
Pretty much. And then when Chainz tried to actually pull his money out in May 2022, like the agreement said he could,
Let me guess.
ghosted. Completely ghosted him. It says a lot about how things were operating internally at that point.
Yeah, it really does. And as this story kind of unfolds, it turns out Chainz wasn't alone in having issues, right? Other investors were apparently having problems too.
Oh, definitely not alone. Others were actually already suing Pineapple Express. Things like unpaid taxes, other, let's say, shady dealings. It wasn't just a one-off problem with one investor.
So the financial situation was shaky overall.
Very shaky. I mean, the details are pretty stark. They owed the IRS, get this $1.69 million.
Whoa.
And hadn't filed state tax returns in years. That's not just a small oversight. That's like a fundamental sign of instability.
All right, a huge warning sign.
Then things really escalated. July 2024, the dispensary just shuts down abruptly.
Okay.
And almost immediately after, Chainz files this big lawsuit, $10.65 million. He's alleging fraud, breach of contract, conversion, basically saying they lied, broke the deal, and misused his money.
He claimed it was a pattern, didn't he?
Exactly. His suit specifically mentioned a pattern of defrauding investors.
But Pineapple Express fought back, naturally. They denied everything, said the shutdown wasn't their fault, blamed it on some court-ordered license reshuffle.
A common headache in the cannabis space, regulatory issues.
Right. And they argued his whole complaint should be handled in private arbitration, not in court.
Yeah.
And then, kind of oddly, they reopened on November 15th, 2024.
But still no money for Chainz.
Still no money.
If you step back and look at this whole thing, it's almost like Celeb Trap 101.
How so?
Well, he was the second largest shareholder, right? But he had basically no real control, no board seats, no escrow account to protect his initial investment, and those timelines, clearly just suggestions.
Oh, okay.
It shows how celebrities can get drawn in. They bring the name, the capital, but maybe don't nail down the actual governance, the control mechanisms. Fancy decks and promises of equity drops don't actually build a store,
Right. Even the biggest names can get finessed, as the article puts it, especially in a market like California cannabis, which would be pretty wild.
Absolutely.
So where does that leave things now? This is June 2025.
Well, the arbitration is happening. It's active, but there's been no payout, no closure. Chainz himself hasn't said anything publicly.
Yeah, Pineapple Express.
They're saying they'll start paying dividends again once sales stabilize.
That old line, once sales stabilize. We've heard that before in volatile markets, haven't we?
We certainly have. It really sums up the journey, doesn't it? From these really high hopes, this big investment, to a messy, high-stakes legal fight. It just hammers home how crucial it is to look past the hype, read the fine print.
Especially in new industries where things are still shaking out.
Exactly.
So thinking about our listeners, what does this story mean for you? If you're looking at any kind of investment, especially in emerging markets or maybe something backed by a big name, what are the takeaways here? Is it just about due diligence, or is it more about understanding that actual control, like board seats, escrow, clear timelines? What lessons can you pull from Chainz's experience to avoid a similar trap?